Okay, this test procedure starts with compacting your specimens. You can set the gyratory to either a certain height that will give you your 7 plus or minus 1% air voids, or your sample size can be adjusted. So you'll compact your specimens, then you'll be removing them from the molds and allowing them to cool to room temperature, and then you'll be running bulk specific gravities on them. Once you've done that, you're going to be grouping them into a wet subset and a dry subset, where the two subsets equal each other in air voids as close as possible. The wet subset will then be saturated in the pycnometer, so you'll be placing it in there so that the water is at least 1 inch over the top, and also so that water can circulate underneath the specimen as it's being saturated. So you will turn your vacuum on. You need to pull 28 plus or minus 2 millimeters of mercury for 5 minutes. Here I'm closing the valve. And we use a pressure gauge, or you can use a manometer, but you will be checking it to make sure that you're pulling the 28 plus or minus 2 millimeters of mercury once it gets down to that. At the end of the 5 minutes, it needs to sit in the water for another 5 seconds before removing. Then you'll be taking it out, immediately taking over to the bulk tank, getting an immersed weight of the saturated specimen. It'll sit in there for the 4 plus or minus 1 minute, and then you'll write down your weight that you got onto the form. Once it stabilizes, after you get that weight, you'll be removing it, blotting it with your wet, freshly wrung out towel, and getting your SSD weight of the saturated specimen and recording that weight on your form. Once you've done that, you're going to take your specimen and you're going to actually dunk it back down into the bulk tank for 1 second, getting it wet again, and then wrapping it in usually a double layer of saran wrap. And then you'll place it into your plastic bag, removing the air from the plastic bag. And then it's going to go into the freezer, all 3 of the specimens, for a minimum of 16 hours. The dry subset you'll place at least some point before testing into the incubator or some other method of bringing it to 77 degrees, which is the testing temperature that we need. So you want to check the temperature on your incubator if you have one. 25°C or 77 degrees Fahrenheit. And they will remain in there until it's time to test. Okay, the wet subset, when it comes out of the freezer after 16 hours, will go into the 140 bath for 24 plus or minus 1 hour. After the 24 hours in the 140 bath, then you're going to be removing them and placing them into a 77 degree bath for 2 to 4 hours until it gets to testing temperature at 77 degrees. Once all the specimens are to temperature, you're going to be taking them out one at a time so that you can retain the temperature of each specimen, placing them properly into the testing frame, which means that you are going to center it in the frame and also on top of the half-inch strips. And you'll be placing it into the compression machine. You'll have to tell the proctor that the rate is 0.2 inches per minute. And the head of the compression machine will be lowered till it's just about to touch the frame. And then you would continue on with your test and get your reading from the test.
I've learned to let